Hello and welcome to Movie Beaters with the Farx brothers. I'm Kirk.
I'm Kyle.
And we're here with Carl Swanson. Carl is a theater actor and film actor who is joining us today to discuss Interstellar.
Nick Swedlin said you were a good actor and we were having beers once. He's like, Carl, he's a good actor. But my question for you, Carl, is did you ever want to be an astronaut?
It was never something that was like, like some kids, that's their dream. That was never really like my dream. But it was always something that I'm just like, that's something that is just fascinating and also seems terrifying as well at the same time.
What's terrifying about being an astronaut?
Space, man.
Yeah.
Space is terrifying.
You're
Endless
in space.
void.
I'm in space, but I'm not in space. For those
Outer
that can't tell, I
space.
just did space as in the space around me, but then pointed up for in space.
Oh, I thought you were putting like a lotion on somebody when you were doing that.
Not so much.
Brother, did you ever want to be a...
Yeah, I did want to be an astronaut. Yeah, I was thinking about going to MIT at the time and trying to get my, degree in astrophysics.
What?
Yeah, I
You never
wanted...
told me this when we were young.
No.
We didn't know each other as separated brothers.
I mean, we were separated for a long time, so that's probably why.
I wanted to be an astronaut too, and I thought about it very seriously. The movie Space Cowboys kind of convinced me not to be.
Wait, what about Space Cowboys?
The Clint Eastwood movie, Space
No,
Cowboys?
I know, but what in the movie made convince you not to do it?
I couldn't run the mile as fast as the astronauts that...
So physical activity, not the fear of aliens or anything like that?
I don't care about aliens. Like, you think there's a difference... So if the aliens come and they meet us in space, you don't think their next stop is Earth?
No, I'm assuming their next stop is usually Earth.
Yeah, that would make sense.
So in an apocalypse, do you want to die first or last?
Wait, so I'm going to die either way, though, right? Is that the
I hate to
situation?
break this to you. You're going to die no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think I bring that
that's
up
true.
in every
Wow.
series.
That is true.
Lack of confidence in your brother here.
Yeah.
How dare you?
What? No, that
Well, I
he's
mean,
not going to live forever? No, I don't. I just genuinely don't
Believe in me,
think...
Kyle.
Well, no, okay.
I'm
So
Asian, I don't raisin. Come on.
there's apocalypses and there's apocalypses. Like a zombie apocalypse, there how many films are made about the people who
Yeah.
survive a zombie apocalypse and how they survive and what have you.
7,321.
Is
That's
that
a
a real
very
number?
specific number.
It's not at all correct, but I wanted to see what would happen.
Fair enough. Anyway, but then there's the apocalypse that is like, oh no, this is just either a major weather event or rapture or whatever the fuck it is, where no one survives. There are two different apocalypses.
I think the point of the rapture is that, and this is where we're getting into the hard baits, is that people survive after the rapture.
That's true.
There are people who are not
then are
raptured.
tortured.
Yeah, there's one
Yeah,
who are like, oh, I
that's
should have
true.
believed harder or done the right things.
Yeah, like
Do you know what
the Leftovers, the
Yeah.
TV show, yeah.
Well, I love The Leftovers, but are you familiar with what the rapture is? I know
Yeah,
Carl knows.
It's like this, it's where the non-believers stay on Earth and the believers get to go to heaven or something, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was talking to a pastor last year about some other subject, maybe something related to an election year. I don't know. And he made the joke that the person in your congregation that wants to talk about Revelations should not be the person to lead the Bible study on Revelations. And yeah, I don't usually find pastors funny. I mean,
That's
not
funny.
that way. Yeah, but that was a strong one.
It's also
When
a
do you
very
normally-
niche joke.
Find them funny. When do you normally find them funny?
Why don't I normally find...
No, when do you normally find them funny?
I don't normally find... Well, I mean, public speakers tend to find ways to be entertaining. Carl could tell us he's a public speaker professionally as an actor.
I don't know if that's
Actor,
true.
yeah.
I'm a make-believer professionally, I would say. I become a different person. Public speaking implies that you're yourself when you're saying these things.
Oh, so you see yourself as a different person when you're talking in front of people?
When you're an actor, yeah.
Okay. Don't you... and having publicly spoken before...
Yes.
Is it... If they pretend they're someone else while they're public speaking...
That
wouldn't
could be
they
a form of acting then.
Okay.
Technically, yeah.
So whether or not you're acting is really inside of you.
That's true. I would agree with that.
Jeez.
But also there's a sense of like acting as a slightly different you and acting as a completely different character written into a script, written into something else kind of a thing.
I've got a closet full of me's.
A closet full of views.
That's an Office joke. Ed Helms sings a song about a closet full of hymns.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I have a confession to make. Can I make a confession on this?
Have you ever
podcast?
seen The Office?
I've never actually. That's not true. I've watched a lot of episodes, but I've never watched The Office straight through.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's all right.
The average person who liked a show back when like watching shows on linear TV was a thing, watched 1 out of 4 episodes.
Oh, that's true.
It sucks because, well, what was great about like DVDs and stuff is then, hey, I can watch The Shield from episode 1 to episode 13 and get the linearity while also getting the episodic plots.
Yeah.
I don't know why I referenced The Shield, but it's
That was a very specific thing. But
Why
yeah.
did you pick the Interstellar for our debate? I was
Not
shocked.
the Interstellar. It's just Interstellar.
Literally, it was because okay. So I'm gonna admit I wanted to talk about Wicked, but apparently that's already been happening
no,
on this
we already did
podcast.
that.
Can't do a double Wicked. I mean,
I
we
know
could
that's fine.
but
No, I respect that. And it was literally just like I was trying to think of a movie that I've watched recently that I enjoyed. Because I watched Interstellar maybe for the first time maybe just a month ago.
What?
I know.
Very first time?
I know.
Wow.
Oh, I know.
So 10 years out, did you watch it in a theater?
No.
Okay.
I know. No, I'm aware.
No, that's
and
fine.
it is very much so. And the other reason I brought it up was because I just saw recently that it's going to be re-released on IMAX.
Yeah.
Coming up very soon. Actually.
That already happened. I'm really sorry to tell you that.
No, I think it's coming out again, isn't it?
It's coming out again after,
Yeah.
because it was out recently, like in the past 2 months.
I think it's coming out again in other theaters.
If it does, I'd like to go. I have a theater subscription package, so I would have gone.
We're not gonna mention them until they sponsor us.
Oh yeah. Hey, you know who you are.
Hey.
Wink, wink.
American Multi Cinema Corporation. I don't know if that's what it stands for.
And also, I will also say this. I also watched Oppenheimer and Interstellar in fairly quick succession, like maybe less, like about a month or less than a month apart from each other. So that doesn't make sense. Because, I watched Oppenheimer late. But, anyway, point being, I had a Christopher Nolan kick that was just like, cool, let's talk about this movie because I watched it recently and that's why I chose it. I know it's a big, heady one to talk about. So I'm like, well, let's see where we go with this. Because that's just it. You could talk about the movie, but there's so many other things that you could also talk about as well in terms of this movie.
I watched over an hour, almost like Neil deGrasse Tyson talking to, I believe he's a Nobel Prize winner, Kip Thorne, who with his ex-girlfriend, when she was his ex, I believe. Oh, you know this?
You sent me this video.
Oh, did you watch the video?
I watched part of it, yeah. I watched it tonight.
Yeah, Kip Thorne talked about, well, you say it. You're the storyteller.
Well, Kip Thorne talked about how his ex-girlfriend randomly contacted him and was like, hey, can you come in and talk to, I'm trying to come up with a movie idea about interplanetary travel and about black holes and about everything else, and we really want to get the science right about it. Essentially, is what she did, because she was, I forget exactly what her job was on the film. She wasn't the producer, was she?
Well, both, I believe, her and Kip Thorne, and very sexist of me not to remember her name, but Carl Sagan had introduced this woman to Kip Thorne. I didn't call him Dr. Kip Thorne.
It was a blind date, even, apparently.
Wow.
I know, right?
See, you should watch the Neil deGrasse Tyson podcast.
Watch it, not listen.
I mean,
It's on YouTube.
It's a video podcast.
some podcasts they film.
Yeah.
We don't do that yet because, you'd have to edit and color correct. And
You don't color correct a video podcast, do
I'm
you?
sure people color. You don't think
Oh, the big ones, I'm sure they do.
Jamie is going through and color correcting Joe's head to be the right level of that you both got who I was talking
Yeah,
about.
but I don't
Shows.
think... I don't
We're
know.
talking
Do you
about
think so?
podcasts, and you just said Joe. Who else are we going to
Yeah.
think of?
Who's the big podcaster named Joe?
Man, I really wish I could think of Joe Jorgensen,
Sure.
former libertarian candidate for president in 2020.
Wow.
Actually, on that note, when I think about Interstellar, I think about Gary Johnson, who 2 years later, after Interstellar, would talk about how, well, in 10,000 years, the sun's going to expand to where we're going to need to get off the earth. And he seemed like a crazy person because he thought Aleppo was an acronym.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Former, I'm naming 2 libertarian candidates for president.
I mean, I don't think in 10,000 years the human race will be around anyway.
You don't think the human race is... Have you not watched Dune, motherfucker?
Dune is also science fiction, so I don't know that's gonna happen.
I think if we think about our existence in long form terms, we can help ourselves exist in the long term. I'm willing to debate you on that, dear brother.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, but we're not going to space anytime soon. I know we.
What are you talking about?
We forgot how to get to the moon. I mean, we're not getting to
correct.
Mars. Yeah,
But, well, no, I mean, well, the current administration says they're going to Mars.
Yeah, Swatistic said he's going to Mars.
Yeah.
Not my joke.
That's good, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Swatistic, that's
Oh,
the best thing
no.
to call. Well, we were
Oh, no.
So in the non-spoiler section, we were talking about, like, let's say we didn't win World War II, you know, would the Third Reich have tried to go to space like we did? Because we took all the Nazis in Operation Paperclip who we didn't kill and brought them over to, you know, work on our rockets to get to space. So like the Nazis helped us get to space, but like would those evil bastards have tried to, in their effort to be supremacists, would they have tried to get off planet?
I think probably. Because
For what reason though? Why would they go off planet?
why would they go off planet? Well, I guess you're actually true. You're not wrong though. I mean, to be completely honest, the only reason that the United States really went to space was just to make sure that we got there before the Russians.
Yeah.
And that is something that they say in Interstellar that I don't think is a spoiler to bring up, that the
That's not a spoiler.
Apollo space program was faked so that we could bleed out the Russians economically. Like they say that in the movie.
Yeah, they do.
And then there aren't militaries anymore. Like that level of, you know, subterfuge in international relations, but we don't need militaries anymore because there's a blight on the crops, so we can't when there's limited food resources, that's when people start killing each other the most.
100%.
Whatever.
God, yeah. Well, because then it's like, oh no, food becomes a precious resource, and thus that's what actually wars are fought over at that point in time. Because the food is the thing that is basically becomes money.
Right.
Because
yeah.
money's not money anymore. Because who cares?
Food is their money.
Food is their money. But no. Actually, no, that's a great segue. It is, what a fascinating thing to be like, okay, the food is the thing that's going away, and that's why we are seeking a different planet. Not necessarily because correct me if I'm wrong, it is never brought up that Earth is now uninhabitable. It is never said that.
There's
just-
a gravitational question around the Earth.
There is. Okay. I don't remember that part of it.
Well,
I think it's the soil that's gone bad, that
Yes.
they can't plant any kind of crops to feed people on the planet. But it's not that it's inhabitable for people, it's just they can't grow food.
Can't grow
That's
food.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, parts of the Earth are inhabitable. We can say that's for the spoiler section when we get to Casey Affleck's character. I mean, I guess being
Yeah.
around Casey Affleck is supposed to be inhabitable if I picked up on the right.
But
Yeah, because he did some bad things when he was making that documentary, quote unquote, with Joaquin Phoenix.
indeed.
I'm not going to derail everything for that.
Let's not
Oh,
get
yeah.
into that
I
right now.
had to learn about blights today. There are generalized blights. Oh, wait, you
Oh
got
yeah,
to
no, we
keep summarizing this other podcast.
Sure, why not? It's essentially like what he said is there are generalized blights, which basically means that all of plant life has some sort of infection or something that causes it to be to not grow or to be
Infected with something.
that makes it inedible by humans. And then there's specific blights which basically says that it is a specific thing that kills off or infects a specific kind of plant life or specific kind of crop that often can then be either we stop planting that, we stop making that, or because that happens actually often. Like random things come up all the time. But in Interstellar specifically, they were like, okay, what is a generalized blight that could potentially affect every single piece of plant life or crop that is edible by humans in the entire world? And I think it was like he said like they did research of like what that could potentially be. Or like, no, he said they had a 3-hour to 4-hour dinner of wine with biologists from Caltech or something like that.
Botanists and biologists,
Botanists and biologists from Caltech, and then they came up with like, yes, that is possible. That could potentially be a thing that would actually happen.
Well, it hasn't happened.
It hasn't happened
thankfully,
yet.
but it could, like, it jumps from the pangolins to the bats to the other plants, and you know.
Yeah, all these things. That's what's honestly, just to sidestep, it's fascinating to me that while I was listening to this podcast that you sent me,
Thanks.
how much they attempted to make this movie as true to the science that is currently known as possible. Like the number of times that he said that like Christopher Nolan came up to him and was like, hey, I want this to happen in my story. And the guy would, Kip Thorne, is that correct?
Kip Thorne.
Dr. Kip Thorne would be like, that's not possible. And he's just like, go and show me the math. Go make a calculation, essentially, and then he would go and do it, and he would often come back with like, nope, I guess that is possible. It was specifically talking about the is that in the spoiler section?
Crossing black holes. I think you can talk about crossing black holes.
Crossing black holes and how that affects time and things like that.
Yeah, which is truly theoretical physics.
Correct.
Is it just? I don't know. We're not really baiting any of this at this point. I think the Nazis would go to space.
But why? Why would the Nazis go to space?
As part of their supremacy.
If you achieved it being supreme on planet Earth and everyone is blue-eyed, blonde hair, why do you want to go to Mars? It's a dead planet. Why would you go to Mars?
Because they've already conquered the Earth, so they need to conquer something else.
But there's no alien race on Mars that isn't blue-eyed, blonde hair. Like, what's the point of going to Mars?
Strategic diversification of habitat. The reason the United States is one of the strongest countries is because we have a diverse landscape where you can grow lots of different things, and we have the most coastline of any country our size. Mm-hmm. Which makes it possible to ship things from all over the world and for us to produce a bunch of different types of products, crops and other types of things, mine for different ores that aren't, that we then ship other places. Like, look at, how we're going to potentially use crude oil from this country versus buying it from other, countries. That I think that the Nazis would have gone to other planets to try and gain more resources once they gained control of the planet.
And also just pure curiosity.
I don't know if they had that curiosity. I think they were too focused on being...
They were doing weird science experiments on Jews
people.
They had,
they were
captured.
Doing weird science experiments on people, yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't just say people, because they had other people that they were doing weird
Did
science
they
on.
think Jews existed on other planets? Is that why they're going?
Oh, I'm not bringing up space Jews. I'm not Dave Chappelle.
But no, I think it is pure, I think it's also just because how are we talking about the Nazis? The Nazis specifically attracted so many different scientists and things that there would eventually been someone that would have been like, what's up? What is up?
Operation Paperclip makes it very relevant to talk about the Nazis. That's one of the things I didn't like.
Yeah, but in this scenario, the Nazis win, and Operation Paperclip never happened. So.
It would have been a reverse Operation Paperclip. They would have taken the scientists from the United States, brought them to Germany, and figured out how. Well, they still would have had to beat Russia into space, because if you don't, Russia lost.
Russia was an was an ally.
Yeah, so why would
they would have been beaten hypothetically in the war as well.
Oh yeah, they would have had to beat the United States and Russia, and then so they would have taken the people who would have otherwise become Russian cosmonauts and the people that would eventually be NASA, and they're working under Werner von Braun or whatever, the head scientist from the Nazis. So my argument is that I think humans are curious, and they would go off and do other things, and it would be you could sell it on the argument of its diversification of the assets that the empire has.
Don't you think they would have reached a pinnacle of humanity where they wouldn't need to, go to other planets and take their resources? Maybe they, found some way to live off their own resources?
You made the argument while we were watching the movie. He and I watched it yesterday, just for context.
Nice.
And argued it. And Mrs. Farx joined us for the first 40 minutes. And she's like, I don't like this movie. It's boring.
It's slow. It is a slow movie. I will agree with that.
It's not okay, I'll bait you on that.
Okay, sure.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. You tell me why it's slow.
The only reason why I will say it's slow is it takes us a full 30 to 45 minutes for him to go to space.
Yeah.
Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but of what happens in that 30 to 45 minutes, there is maybe about 10 minutes of interesting exposition, in my opinion.
What do you mean?
You establish the Earth. You establish the Earth is in peril. You establish a lot of things about the current state of what he's living in. You establish that he has tech, is good with tech, can fly things, what have you. What's really interesting to me is when he gets to finally to Michael Caine and start talking about everything going on and like the potential for what they can do by going into space and trying to find a new world. That's kind of what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's. Let me rephrase. It's not necessarily that it's slow. It's that Christopher Nolan took his time to establish a lot in the early parts of that movie. Because I remember it was like when I watched that movie, it was like. We went to space and I was like, I looked at the clock and I'm just like, oh my God. Oh yeah, this is already an hour in. It is a long movie. I will give you that. But like.
You don't have to give me that. I don't find it long, even though it's one of his longer movies.
Sure.
It's almost as long as Oppenheimer, which is, I believe, 3 hours.
And what I will say is once they go into space, I never had a moment where I was like looking at my phone doing anything. I'm just like, I know I'm riveted. in every single moment.
I didn't have to go to other technology to keep me engaged in this magical technology that I was enjoying.
But you know how it is. Like if you're watching something and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, I'm taken out of it for a second. You go to your phone for some stupid reason.
Quentin Tarantino calls that the like tether we have between the thing and anything that breaks you out of the tether, whether it be environmental or the movie missing a beat in some way. I very much like that first act because I'm so curious about the world.
Sure.
It's where you like think that, oh, well, we're dealing with some like small scale stuff at school, but that's also where we find out the Apollo missions were faked so that we could bleed out the Russians economically, and we find out the military isn't there are no armies, is what is said in one line of dialogue.
Is Earth a utopia? I mean, they don't have militaries, or are they fighting wars? Or they? I mean, it's probably a pretty easygoing planet at that time, right?
It's not easygoing because we're fighting. We're
struggling
for food.
Famine war, yeah, but we're not killing each other. We're slowly dying.
My theory on what's going on is that the information age has made it so everyone knows what's going on, and why would you waste resources killing each other when everyone needs to work towards the survival of humanity?
So technically it's the most peaceful time in history then, because everybody's working together, nobody has armies, we're trying to figure this out.
So if you were an astronaut, would you want the American flag on your spacesuit?
Well, I mean, am I astronaut for America? Yeah, that's fine. That'd be cool.
Well, aren't you representing humanity in a sense when you go up into space? Like, it's not some other fucking species that's going up into space.
Yeah, but it's also NASA, and that's the American space program or organization, so...
I feel like I've said this for a while, where I feel like war will not end and the human race will not come together on Earth until there is some sort of external conflict or external threat from outside of the Earth actually threatening us.
Today is not just our Independence Day. Today will be the Independence Day of the world. Watch me fly my spaceship into another spaceship.
but like...
Independence Day is the movie. Okay.
Independence Day.
I know, but you trailed off there a little bit.
I was going to say something very inappropriate.
Valid.
About flying planes and the things. That's all. You can do it.
Yeah.
But it's true, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunately how the human race, I think, really does think. It's like we have conflict with each other until there's some bigger conflict that we could potentially actually have to go against. And I might be wrong. There might be. Who knows if that ever happens? But like, point being is like that. But what's interesting, to bring it back to Interstellar, is the bigger conflict is food. The bigger conflict is this thing that we actually are like, oh shit, we don't have anything to eat, which is a necessary thing for existence. How do we make that happen? Only to work together, which is interesting.
It applies to movies generally.
Yeah.
In that if there's not a clear objective, like, we are trying to get to Mordor. We have to stop this list of the spies getting out, because if the bad guys find out, they'll kill all the spies. Mission Impossible and Lord of the Rings were the first two I thought of, so those were the objectives I went with.
I love it.
Kirk and I recently saw a Wolfman, and there's not a clear objective other than not get killed by a Wolfman in it. There were more objectives they could have given, and some criticism I've intaken, even though I enjoyed the movie. was like, oh, well, why didn't they go back for the gun to try to shoot the wolf? You know, stuff like give them missions.
But she's like a shoot her own husband. He's turning into the wolf man during the movie.
I would shoot my spouse if they were turning into a wolf person and it was threatening our children.
Can we have your wife come into the room?
Honey, I want you to know that. This is especially one she won't listen to because she doesn't like the movie.
Oh my word!
Did I cut you off, Carl?
You did not.
Done so.
No. I think I was going to bring up the fact though that like to go back to the Neil deGrasse Tyson podcast that we were talking about. Indeed, I did watch it and I'm like, this is interesting because he brings up the question of why did they not just take the funds that they were putting towards trying to go to another country and try to...
Another planet, you mean?
Another planet. And put that into just figuring out how to cure the soil, how to find a way to grow something out of this soil. Especially because he's like, okay, hypothetically, this is in a futuristic universe of some kind. And then maybe not the super distant future, but like somewhere further. We already have all this knowledge of genomes and the genes of plants and how to even do genetically modified plants in these ways. How have we not figured out a way to like splice a cactus that can grow in almost any climate, not cold climates, but like with very little moisture into something else to create a thing? Which I'm like, that's valid, and I don't remember the actual argument that...
Kip Thorne says that, you think every problem can be solved by human ingenuity? And I just want to say, hey, Monsanto, we're willing to take dollars from you guys. Fuck RFKJ.
Well, I mean, you never see an animal either. So are the animals...
You never see an animal?
Yeah, on the planet. You never see a pig or a cow or a chicken. Are they also
Is there a
gone
dog?
then?
Am I crazy? No, there's no dog.
No, there's no dog.
There's no
so I'm
dog.
assuming, other animals, other foods that you could eat are gone. So I guess vegetables or fruits or whatever they grow on the farm is the only thing left
the
they
corn.
have.
Yeah, and they talk about how their neighbor is growing okra again. I don't think that's a spoiler. I don't think Christopher Nolan likes animals, if I'm being honest with myself, because if you think back to all the Christopher Nolan movies, can you think of any that have animals?
They also don't have any indirect or direct interaction with animals to begin with, so...
Batman?
He's a bat.
Yeah, technically he's a bat, yeah. So.
No, the bats are fake in the movie.
They are fake in the movie.
Yeah, but they're still there,
But
and they help him, yeah.
He's born in the night.
Maybe in the Prestige there's animals. I'd have to rewatch the Prestige.
Oh, yeah, the bird that he crushes.
Black cat. The black cat that gets duplicated in the Prestige.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's not adverse to animals. One of the things that I don't care. My wife gets annoyed by is when people care more about pets than animals, or animals than humans.
Interesting.
Like, oh, why do we care so much about these animals, but we don't care about humans? And I don't have a good answer for that. She's a bleeding heart who got her master's and works for not much money, a fine amount to work in public service, so she gets to make that argument as my argument for her. Against her though, I love animals and doggies.
It's playing on the fact that humans tend to gravitate and want to stand up for something that can't defend itself.
Sure.
And an animal is that thing that is like very much like is slightly more helpless, especially if it's a human being doing something to the animal.
Oh, well, yeah, if you kill a dog in a movie, you're the bad guy.
You're the bad guy, 100%.
Some people won't watch,
Because that's just, because it is that helplessness, but I slightly agree with her as well, where it's just like, not necessarily, not completely, but like...
Do you have an animal?
I do. I have 2 cats.
You have 2 cats, that's right. I think I've met at least one of them.
You've met at least one of them, that is true.
One of them's afraid of humans?
She's not afraid of humans. She's just standoffish to all humans. She doesn't like humans in general.
Fair enough.
She likes us and she likes our friends. But no, you're not wrong. Like she's not wrong. I think there are times when people put too much prevalence on their animals compared to the human suffering as well.
On the topic of species populations, I think what Kirk was arguing to me during the movie was that the reason you'd get off the planet is because there's too many people on the planet. And I kind of touched on this earlier. The diversity of habitats is what I think is a better argument. But do you want to argue for humans should be allowed to go forth and multiply, and even if we have to go off planet to do so?
I don't know if do you really want to diversify habitats, don't you want everything
Yes.
to be? No, you want everything to be warm, or you want everything to be livable. You don't want to be living in a freezing place. You don't live in the North Pole. Nobody wants to do that.
Well, I think there's times I want to be in Florida and times I want to be in Minnesota is kind of where I'm coming
You
from.
could
on
be in
that.
Florida all the time on.
You can't be in
Nazi
Florida
planet,
when
yeah.
it's tornado or it's a hurricane season and
Yeah,
live.
but if
you
the
know.
Nazis, back to the Nazis, if the Nazis,
Yeah, but if the Nazis.
yeah, if the, in this scenario,
What a
in this
segue.
scenario, yeah, in this scenario, the Nazis perfect, the Aryan race, they could perfect Earth to be this one climate all the
Kirk,
time.
no, they couldn't.
It's science fiction. They can do whatever the hell they want.
They can do whatever the hell they
Yeah.
want. Change Earth's axis slightly so that there's just only one strip in the middle where it is
One
a perfect
time
living
zone all the
condition.
time. Yeah.
They changed it to the axis of evil.
Yeah.
Ah! No.
We got in the weirdest argument in the while watching the movie because
Sure.
I'm a disagreeable person.
You? No.
No, really, I am.
Yeah, that's why we have this show.
Yeah.
which which
A
would
podcast would not be successful without that. Let's be honest.
which would be worse to eat, shit or mold? Yeah, I know.
Ooh, I think shit, because mold still is an organic species, like is an organic substance that is, correction, is it human shit or is it a different animal shit?
There's a Bristol scale of stools that we looked up as part of this argument.
Sure, but in a sense, mold
Both are bad, just to be clear.
mold is bad. No, 100%.
No, both are bad.
Both are bad. Both are bad.
Both are bad, but which is more likely to have worse outcomes long term?
Honestly, probably eating mold. Now that I think about
Yeah.
it, because at
We
least-
researched it. That is the answer.
Oh shit! I don't like that. But like, because that's the dumb thing. Because technically speaking, mold is poisonous to humans, but technically speaking, mold is still an organic substance that is growing outside of you. So it is better to eat your own
Shit.
waste,
Yeah.
your own thing that your body just dubbed as something that it cannot use, rather than something I guess that is technically poison to you. Oh, that sucks. But
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
We weren't talking about it in relation to political parties, but the argument I used was Matt Damon's shit potatoes in The Martian.
Sure.
Have you both seen The Martian?
Shit, but I mean,
He starts
doesn't-
using his shit to grow the.
as fertilizer.
fertilizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's growing out of,
it's clean.
Could you use I mean, you can eat certain types of mold, blue cheese, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
My nickname in college.
There's a lot of fungus that is
Jeez.
technically. A lot
Sorry.
of fungus grows as mold first and then turns into something else. Is that true?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
This isn't a science podcast. This is a debate podcast.
Don't you love it when you say something you're like, I think this is true. Is it?
It has the air of truthiness to it.
Error of
from the
ingredients to it. I love that. Indeed. We haven't gotten off Earth yet in this conversation about this movie.
How would we get? Oh well.
We'll have to
What-
go
what
into
do you-
the spoilers
That's true.
territory. So,
There's, I feel like, too many
yeah.
spoilers then in that
To
situation.
talk about getting off Earth.
Not at all, because it's
Yeah, I
Interstellar.
think so.
Can I just express?
Yeah.
I often forget, so coming from someone who watched Interstellar for the first time not that long ago, I did not know that Anne Hathaway was in this movie. I did not know that Matt Damon was in this movie.
That's a
Yeah.
spoiler. Damn it!
Is it?
It was a spoiler.
it's
People were saying it was
surprise,
a
yeah.
spoiler back 10 years ago. That, well, we haven't said how he's in the movie.
No, his voice is in the movie.
His voice. Oh, when is his
From
voice? in
early
the-
on.
Oh, that's right. Yes. Good point.
Which
Fair
wait,
enough.
which part?
Well, when
plays-
I don't think it's a spoiler to say that before the movie starts, 3 different groups have traveled outside of Earth to try and find
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
place another planet to
Yeah.
inhabit humans.
But they use his voice.
You hear his voice
Oh.
early in the movie.
He's the robot.
No, he's not. Bill Irwin is the robot. Bill Irwin is a famous live-action performer from Sesame Street. I'm willing to Google it while we're
No,
talking.
I'm sure you're correct. I just, for some reason,
Thought that he was also the robot.
yeah.
No, it's Bill Irwin. I've
It
looked this up
sounds-
many times.
It sounds like him.
Okay, that's fair.
Cal, you mean?
Tarzan
There's Tarzan Case.
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 Yeah.
Case is the one I'm talking. No, Tarz is the one that's
He talks a lot more.
The sarcastic one that
Yeah.
rides with them.
Tars is Bill Irwin.
Tars is Bill. Do you know who Bill Irwin is?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, Sesame Street? Or
Yeah.
what do you think of him from?
Sesame Street.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
He's also been on Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
As has most actors that live in New York at some point in time.
What state do you think they're in the movie? Like, what state is he farming in?
I was gonna say somewhere in the Midwest. Somewhere
Oh.
I was gonna type like it's got to be somewhere that's flat enough to be windy,
Right.
as
that's
windy as
true,
it is,
yeah.
and they have all those dust storms. So somewhere like I don't know, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, somewhere on there. Maybe Missouri.
I'll bait myself on why you would want the United States patch on your off of what you just said on your shoulder if you were an astronaut is like first you guys are saying well the NASA thing and like but I think the reason that Britman Christopher Nolan C Knowles as I call him makes him in the United States is that this is where the best come to make money and get shit done. So like if anyone was going to save humanity, it would be the shining city on a hill.
Sure.
Yeah, and if they encounter aliens, they'll know, oh, you're from America. Yeah, you're the best.
But you also
They know that they'll fly the ship into their mothership. Today will be Independence Day.
But also you cast Matthew McConaughey, who has the most southern of accents. So it's like, where else does that accent occur other than? I mean, granted, he could have told them like do a different accent, but no, he chose that. So what is the reason? The money? All the money?
Oh no, I was just driving around in my Lincoln thinking, man, you got the boo, but have you got the grr?
Not your best impression.
That's not my best?
No.
I was better at it 10 years ago when he was doing those Lincoln commercials in relation to this.
That was 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
It's over 10 years ago.
But no, Matthew McConaughey, you just got to get that slight Texas.
All right.
Just talking
All right,
constant.
let's move into spoilers.